So finally, I have reached the end of the faction list that is currently available. I have a video on everything, and the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent is a faction that's perfect for you if you looked at something like the Heretic Legion and thought, this is neat and all, but what if we had more demons? And that's this faction. As well, if I was going to be reductionist a little bit and try to make a good comparison in universe, this is basically New Antioch for the demons. Because essentially, these are the guys leading the actual war on Earth. They are fighting God. This is the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent in their entire role on Earth. As such, they give a pretty good insight into how heaven and hell actually work, which is also stuff I hope that gets expanded on a little more, which we'll get to when we get to it. So way back in the day, when those good old Templars decided to turn to Satanism and open up a giant hell portal, the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent, at least right before they really codified and became that, were the first to cross through that portal. They were perfectly ready for this portal to open and immediately waged war on Earth. They swiped out quickly and took over the entire Levant. And being the first demonic force on Earth, they had to set up something, which is why they are the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent. They are the main governing body of the demonic legions. They are the ones leading the war. It is a council of 7 members, 7 serpent heads. Each head of the serpent is representing a different deadly sin, and each archdevil that is in that position is essentially the representative of that sin. We have a demon that's there for greed, gluttony, lust, all that shit. But it's from here that they wage war against God, a god that they call a tyrant. In the language of the lore text for the court, it is explicitly stated that these demons and archdevils are fallen angels. What this means is that the demons in Trench Crusade are following a pretty similar idea to current Christianity, which is that the demons that are in hell and Lucifer are fallen angels. They rebelled against God one day and then were cast down. Now, this might seem like a really dumb observation or something to point out, but I do think it's worth mentioning that the actual Christianity and theology that is present in Trench Crusade is different than ours, because this is like a different world. This isn't just a world that has a timeline split. No, this is like a completely different place with a different version of Christianity and Islam and all that. It is from this fall that the Covenant of Hell is a thing. The Covenant of Hell is the actual binding agreement that has the demons and the archdevils stay in hell. They cannot leave. However, there is a big loophole. This loophole is that, well, they can't leave, but stuff from hell can leave. Like, say, for example, monsters, people converted after the fact, things like that. I mean, the Hell Pilgrimage for, like, the Heretic Legions has people going inside if you're wicked enough and being converted. You're technically not a big demon. Now, this is an oversight. I'm gonna be completely honest on the side of heaven. I don't know who wrote that contract that just left a big hole of, yeah, but their armies can leave. It's just a big oversight, Michael. I don't know why I specifically named Archangel Michael here. I might have lingering resentment from the Vampire the Masquerade lore, where he basically phoned it in for a group project. But watch my Vampire the Masquerade video if you want context on that. But it's from here that the court actually was like majorly established. They needed a method of waging war against God. So what they did is they have a council of 7 demons, like I was mentioning. These demons being the coolest, the smartest, the strongest, all that shit, each embodying a sin. However, this whole thing is not a great government system. I'm gonna be super honest. This is because if you have a system that is based off of who is the coolest and the best at the moment, turns out a lot of people want that seat and a lot of people will do a lot of things to get it. So the actual seats for each sin is kind of like a big rotating list. It is constantly changing. The only archdevil who maintained their seat for like a significant amount of time was our boy, our beloved Mammon. Mammon, the Prince of Greed. He obviously held greed for a long period of time. As well, a notable mention here, because I love this fact, is Beelzebub. Beelzebub is the rightful owner of the seat of gluttony. He is objectively the best and strongest demon that could possibly be on that seat. But Beelzebub thinks the court is stupid. He really hates the system and believes that he can do better on his own, so he just doesn't take it. And that fact is a really, really good way of getting in the heads of how the court works. It is not coherent. There are no agreements that are unanimous. There are a lot of people, each with their own individual goals and just ways they want to wage war. A lot of them, on the outside, do the Beelzebub route. While they're meant to be one strong force striking forward, instead they speak as 7 disparate voices, all trying to wage war with their own personal war bands. Which these war bands and how they're actually managed is something that's expressed mechanically, and I like this a lot. So for those who don't know, and I do not blame you if you don't understand the rules of Trench Crusade, not everyone plays miniature war games. The standard list for Trench Crusade is 700 ducats, or points if you're going to work on the Warhammer terminology. That is like your max list you're bringing. Many units range from numbers like 30 points, 50 points, all that shit. The Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent's armies are very elite and very small. In lore, this is because they want to limit how much damage and casualties they take. Losing lives on the side of like the demonic is a much bigger loss. So each individual head of the Serpent actually makes sure to manage exactly how each of these warbands is set up and what they're doing. And then when you go to the tabletop, how this is expressed is that every single one of these big, cool, scary monsters is like over 100 points. Normally for armies, they have like one model that's over 100 points. This is like a solid chunk of their list. You are bringing a couple of elites and then like some cannon fodder. Aside from that, the actual beasties we see are a lot of times converted from people they actually fight. A good example of this is the Desecrated Saint. And its actual origin is whenever a soul is taken to hell that would have been in the future a saint for God. But usually how they do this is they find out that a saint is going to happen in the future. They head to a town, they kill everybody, including the baby that was just born that was going to one day be elevated to sainthood. They utilize this because this is a great way of hurting God's chances of winning. This is how you wage war against him. You take out targets that'll be important later, or you just cause havoc. Because the more they kill, the more they rampage, and the more they just murder everybody on Earth, the stronger they get, and the weaker God gets. As such, they have to wage a very bloody war. And with this information and all the big cool units I've been showing, I think it's a very fair reason to actually wonder, how the hell hasn't Hell won? Like, they have the unit advantage, they have the big scary monster advantage. What is stopping them from just killing everyone? And unlike some other questions I've brought up because of community engagement, be it my comments, other comments, whatever, I think that this is a genuinely good question. Because when you look at everything on the surface, yeah, 100%, how hasn't New Antioch fell to this? And there is a couple reasons. The main one is the fact that the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent is not coherent at all. They are a bunch of disparate demons trying to do their own thing and take advantage of demonic politics. If the Court of the Seven-Headed Serpent got their shit together and spoke unanimously and led something major, New Antioch, the Iron Wall, all that shit is gone immediately. They would steamroll, but they can't because demons are inherently shitty. Like, there's no way about it. The idea that they're gonna get orderly and start like listening to each other, that goes against their existence. There's also the other thing where I mentioned how they wage war. They want to take a lot of lives. What this kind of leads to is they have to battle by attrition. They have to make sure that their forces are not being lost, but they're inflicting the highest amount of casualties possible, especially towards civilian populations. And so this is really like a long battle of attrition. They're trying to outkill what humanity can produce and what God in heaven can actually influence. And besides, this is just some lore you can speculate for the fact that the real boring answer is a war has to be kind of at a stalemate. It has to be at this state for the game to exist. Thankfully, I think there are legitimate lore answers that mean that you don't have to just rely on the fact that the war is at an eternal stalemate because a game needs to be produced. Normally, this is where I would talk about variant warbands. However, they do not have any. Instead, really the main thing you can do here is you can actually dedicate your army to one of the 7 deadly sins. This will influence how you're playing your army, what kind of units you're bringing, just give you some extra variant rules. Like you can say you're allied with a wrath, therefore your melee charges are better. I think my favorite has to be envy, because what envy does is it allows you to steal items from New Antioch, the Trench Pilgrims, or the Iron Sultan, because whoever's leading your army got really jealous that they have nice shit. I just like that because that's funny. And then for units, the units are genuinely really cool. We have stuff like Hell Knights who are so sick. Also, they're pieces of shit, obviously. They love murder, they love rampaging. However, they are a little bit honorable. interestingly. If you declare a 1v1 with a Hell Knight, they're going to respect it. And then your actual like commander unit is going to be the Praetor. The Praetor are the units that actually like answer to the top brass. They're the ones who talk to and are ordered by whoever is sitting at the respective head. And then right under them is all this shit, and they own everybody. A unit they own is actually the Yoke Fiend. The Yoke Fiend is a person that is converted to have bestial parts and just looking like a cow or a beast of burden. They are essentially giant masses of flesh, fat, and muscle that's explicitly meant to look fucked up and hurt because they own this person and they need to know it. There's some other very cool units like the Sorcerers who just, yeah, they're big floating goat preachers that just preach Satanism. It's all they do. Or the Hunters of the Left-Hand Path, who are hunters from hell who kill beasts that are on the outskirts and read fortunes through their entrails. They also shoot giant, like, flesh bone arrows at you. Just sick. And then the Wretches. The Wretches are interesting. They are just regular people. They're slaves. People that are kind of forced into serving with hell in whatever regard. However, they are slightly honorable, I guess. There's an upside. There's some hope here, because with Wretches, if you are able to kill something important or something real cool, you will get your freedom. There's like no string attached to that, by the way. If you actually do that, you will be able to run home free. That's sick. However, I think it's really important to see this and be like, man, however, this might sound really, really cool on the surface, but if you kind of stretch and read between the lines, what this really sounds like is a great method of having a bunch of expendable units throw themselves at the big scary thing. The human slave force that they use is a lot easier to replenish than the big scary demons they got. So having them like soften up the big shit is a pretty good deal. And yeah, that's it. That's the core of the Seven-Headed Serpent. And I will do something a little different. I'm gonna break like the character here, break immersion, I guess. Because, you know, I want to make sure I thank all the people that jumped over from Mr. Bones 40K's like channel and video. That was very cool of him, and that's very cool of you guys, especially if it's like actually entertaining to people. That's awesome. I love that. That's why I'm here. I am here to entertain and talk about the games I like to convince you and trick you to playing it, so more people exist that play these cool games. That's really my goal. And yeah, because of that, like, also want to thank my channel members who are very, very cool. All the channel members who give me money that help me like make more time for this. And even bigger shout out to Robbie Beckmeyer and Czar Shadow. Subscribing at the highest tier is very cool, very nice of them to do, and I'm very appreciative all around. So yeah, I guess like, you know, there's YouTuber shit, like subscribe, like, join that membership. It'd be crazy. But you know, do what you want. But anyways, see ya.